Yo, what's up everybody? It's Drewberry and today we're talking about NICO MINORU, the next card to join Marvel Snap. We're going to preview her, decide if she's a snap or pass, look at some counters, mechanics, which are really important by the way. I have to emphasize, check out the mechanics. It's really going to influence your decision on whether you want to pick this one up or not. But then I also got some deck lists for you and a full spell list. So I'm really excited to get into this card, especially the mechanics, man. Once I learned more about NICO MINORU, the more I liked it. We're going to get there. But first, Nico, she's a 1/2 on reveal. After you play your next card, cast a spell. Spell changes each turn. Now, there has been a lot of confusion surrounding this card, and I'm going to clear it all up. But first, let's look at what else you can open up in those spotlight caches for next week. And that is going to be Kitty Pryde with a very incredible Kim Jacinto variant. I love that. Oh my gosh, I want it so bad. But Kitty Pryde is the card up. And then Phoenix Force, you got a Dan Hip Phoenix Force in the spotlight caches as well. So I don't even know how I feel necessarily about that. Like 2 Series 5 cards, a lot of people got Kitty Pryde for free. The variant is really cool. Nico is a Series 5 card. She's going to cost 6,000 tokens. And if you don't have Phoenix Force, you passed on that season pass because it was the season pass, I believe, in July. Well, then this is a pretty high value spotlight cache week for you. But again, with spotlight caches, you just got to look at your collection. If you don't have any of these cards, probably a good idea to open some up. But of course, the main feature is the new card. So let's check out some mechanics for NICO MINORU. Actually, hold up. Right before I do that, I completely forgot the spells. The most important part about this card. So here they are. This is a full list of the spells. You might want to take a screenshot or whatever you want to do just so you have it on hand because there are 7 of them. There are 7 spells, but as I'm going to tell you in the mechanics, it doesn't happen in a specific order. This is going to be random. She's going to be in your hand or actually in your deck, and she's going to be cycling through these spells and it will not repeat. We're going to get into that a little more detail, but let's have a look at the spells themselves. So the first one up, well, not really first, right? I'm just the order that I'm going to tell you, but there isn't a specific order when it comes to these spells. I can't emphasize that enough because I saw that in the comments a lot when I talked about this card previously. So the first one here on reveal, after you play your next card, it becomes a demon. The demon, as you know, it is a 1/6 with no ability. That can be really good if you're turning like a wasp or maybe something that you don't really want in your hand, like a widow's bite or something like that, into a demon. High value card, as we know, 1/6 is incredible stat line. So that one's pretty good. I like that one a lot. Next up is on reveal, after you play your next card, double this card's power. I used to think it was doubling the power of the other card that you're playing. No, it is doubling the card, Nico's power. Okay, so she's going to go, if she hasn't been changed, she's going to go from a 2 to a 4, right? If she gets buffed, she's going to go 3 to 6 and etc., which can actually get pretty insane when you're talking about a 1-drop. Next up is after you play your next card, replace that card's location. That is Scarlet Witch, right? Scarlet Witch replaces the location or shuffles. I don't even know what the text is on her, but it's the same effect. Okay, same effect. On reveal, after you play your next card, give it +2 power. That can be really good when we're talking about cards like, oh, I don't know, Brood, for instance, giving +2 power, Mr. Sinister, these sorts of things. Even Iron Man, just so he's got 4 power to his location, then he buffs everything else. That can be pretty nice. And then you're looking, if you're giving 2, you already got 2. That's a 1/4 stat line. Very, very good. On reveal, after you play your next card, add a copy of it to your hand. That, of course, can be good, right? You're talking about Deadpool, right? There's a lot of Deadpool synergies with this list. You get another Deadpool to your hand, happy days. You got 2 of them to play, and then you destroy them a whole bunch, and you have a discounted death. That is a really, really good synergistic ability or spell for a lot of decks, I think, that fits in very well. On reveal, after you play your next card, destroy it and draw 2 cards. This is the best one. This is the best one, and I think it is the best for deck building application, okay? Because you're going to be destroying something. Drawing 2 cards is insane. We have not seen that except for on a negative effect with Maximus drawing 2 cards. And then maybe Adam Warlock, but you have to put in so much work to get there. This is playing a 1/2, playing another card. Yeah, it gets destroyed, but that's going to work probably. You're Deadpool, your Bucky Barnes, or whatever else you want to do. Your Electro, ramp up, get 2 cards. Crazy, right? Okay, I know I'm getting really hyped, but there is going to be some downsides. Lastly, probably the least exciting spell here, but it could work in the right deck, is after you play your next card, move it 1 location to the right. Movement to the right is always nice. All right, so there is a lot to go over here, okay? And these are very, very important. The first one, I have to reiterate it, is that each turn she's in your hand or deck, that has big implications, let me tell you. Her text will randomly cycle to one of her spells without repeating. Okay, here's what I want you to take away from this. There can be in Marvel Snap 7 turns. If we include magic, limbo, whatever, anything like that, we can get to 7 turns. There are 7 spells. That means if, with Nico, if we draw her early, at least in our hand, we will see all 7 options. They do not repeat. They're going to cycle through. That's great. And they're not going to happen in a specific order, but there will be a turn where we find that spell that we do want. And if we don't draw her early enough, we're going to get her from the deck, then she's already going to cycle through those past spells. It has been confirmed that if she's in the deck, whatever spell she went through, it's not going to be an option when she comes to the hand. Now you probably think, well, does that really matter? Because we never saw it anyways and you won't know. Yes and no, because there's things like Lockjaw or anything like Jubilee, Iron Light, if you're throwing the card back into the hand, back out of the deck, these sorts of things, then you're going to want to know if those spells have expired and they're no longer an option from when you get Nico back to your hand to play. Because how does it work? It's when you play Nico. Think of it this way, okay? Forge and Iron Fist are these kind of cards that you can play and their ability is going to proc no matter what happens to them, okay? Even Forge is now a 1 cost. So if both of those cards were to get Killmongered, their on reveal has already set the stage on the board for that next card to be played and receive that buff or that movement or whatever's Nico's doing with her spells. That's what's going on with this card. So she doesn't actually get countered with Killmonger because you're probably getting the value instantly with Nico once you play her. You're going to see in your hand the spells shuffling through each turn. Finally, it's a spell that you want, and then you play her, and she's going to set up her spell so that the next card that you play is going to receive that buff or get destroyed and you draw 2 cards or whatever is going to take place will happen the turn after, okay? Or the next card. It doesn't even have to be the next turn, right? It's just whatever the next card you play. We do this often with like Forge into Brood or Forge into Multiple Man or whatever on the same turn. It's a nice free energy play on turn 3. Forge, Multiple Man, great value. Anyways, that is essentially how Nico is going to play out. She's also going to generate a spell immediately. So you're going to draw that card and it's going to show a spell. If you're worried about the card art and because she has such cool variants, don't worry. When she's on the board, you're not actually going to see. You can probably click on her to know which spell she's loaded up, but you're going to see her variants, her artwork, right? In the hand, I assume you're going to see the spell a little bit more clearly. And essentially that's going to indicate what you're deciding when you do play the card. So I've skipped ahead here, but to quickly go over these next few points is that Nico will generate a spell if she's cheated out, right? She's going to flop out and she's on reveal is going to trick her and it's just going to be whatever spell she was brewing in your deck, okay? Iron Lad wants to copy. He's going to look at the card and whatever spell she's been brewing is what he's going to copy. You're going to get her to the hand. She's going to have a different spell because it's going to change every time. So that's like a cool way to get 2 spells, which is pretty fun. Another thing is if Nico is bounced, she will resume cycling through her spells. I'm under the assumption from what Glenn, the developer, has kind of mentioned is that, she's already going to remember what spells have expired. So those won't be options. She's going to cycle through the remaining spells until she's run out. You can't really run out essentially because there's only a max of 7 turns in Snap, 7 spells available. I already mentioned this one as well, but if you play Nico and then she is destroyed, her spell will still activate. You ever seen the Forge from the grave give his 3 power to the next card or 2 power now? It's the same idea. The spell is on the board. It's not on the card anymore. She's essentially done her work. We don't need Nico anymore. The spell is there. If both players have a Nico in hand, they will have separate spell cycles. So don't just think there's an order. I'm really trying to hit that one home because a lot of people thought there was an order to these spells. There is not. It is random. It's randomly going to cycle through these spells for you and your opponent. And just because there's 2 in the game doesn't mean they're going to be on the same spell cycle. It's going to be separate. Spell timing. This one is super important. So going back to the Forge and Iron Fist example, yes, it works like those cards, but the actual timing of those interactions is different, right? Think about Forge. He gives the power, the card flips, right? And you're going to see it happen instantly. Then it resolves whatever, interesting mechanic it has. So a quick example is Forge into Black Panther, right? It's not going to go, oh, Black Panther on reveal double, then you get the +3 power. No, you get the I keep saying +3. You get the +2 power and then it doubles, right? So you go to 6 from the Forge buff to 12 from the Black Panther on reveal. Whereas with Iron Fist and Nico, because she is going to be playing out the same as the Iron Fist mechanic, is that the on reveal is going to trigger, so Black Panther would double in power, and then he gets punched and moved over. Okay, so that's the timing of this interaction, which it can be kind of important to know, because I think a really good card to pair with Nico is Electro, right? You play Electro, he gives you that plus energy, and let's say it was the spell that destroys and draws 2 cards, you're going to want that to activate after the on reveal of Electro, right? So you do retain that plus energy. So it's a very important note there. And then lastly, if Nico is resurrected, she will not resume cycling spells. All right, I know that is so many mechanics. I'm going to try and go through the rest of this video pretty quickly, but I thought this was the most interesting and most important information that I could provide to you guys about Nico. Now, let's get into some pros and cons. Okay, super quickly, when I'm talking about Nico, I'm thinking high average return, high value return here, because look at the spells. They're all pretty good. Like if we're talking a 1/2 card, you know, one cost, you want a little bit of a buff, but it doesn't have to be too crazy. This seems really good, especially in the right deck. You can make use out of a lot of those options, which I like a lot, and a wide variety of opportunities, because yeah, you got to pass this turn, but you could maybe think about it next turn, maybe based on the locations that are present on the field, maybe based on what your opponent's doing. You want to save until a different spell. It's very interesting. It's very fun. That's what I like about Nico. I think she's going to be a very fun card to play with. Use in Marvel Snap. It's going to be exciting turn after turn to see what you get on top of your draw and navigate your turns that way. But that does bring me to actually one of the most important cons, in my opinion, is that this might be the highest skill ceiling card that I've seen in Marvel Snap to date, because there's so much going on. You can't just like, I don't know, like you look at the Shuri Red Skull line. It's so brain dead. You play Shuri, you play Red Skull, you copy the Taskmaster or whatever else. Like it's just easy lines of play. Whereas with Nico, you got to evaluate, okay, I did roll my good spell, but my turn doesn't really allow for it. My curve isn't quite there. I wouldn't be able to play the card that I want to activate the spell that I built my deck around. Perhaps I should pass. Maybe I should wait, hold on to Nico for a suboptimal spell, but the right timing, a more impactful moment that I can make use of this card. That level of decision making is going to make this a very difficult card to pull off. And honestly, because of it, I expect a lowish win rate out of Nico, despite being maybe a good performer in the right hands. Time will tell, we're going to find out, but it is kind of fascinating. And then the more basic negatives with Nico that a lot of people have already talked about, a lot of comparisons to Snowguard. The biggest weakness to Snowguard was like, it's a hawk and now it's a bear. I don't want the bear. I want the hawk, blah, 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 these kind of things. Yeah, that is still present with this card, but I would say that we can make use of her abilities a little bit more in the right decks, and it shouldn't be too bad, but it will come up. It will come up. The unreliable timing, the awkward play patterns, the not having your curve just ready for that type of spell. It's going to hurt. It's going to make it a dead card in some scenarios. That is undeniable. And then lastly, it's an easy cut in deck building because it's just a 1-drop that might give you that boost. And anytime there's something like that, it's just like, I'd rather, something that could buff my Deadpool so I could just destroy it, which Nico can do, but she also might not be able to do that. She just might be a total whiff, a dead draw, something you didn't really want. Not always, not in most scenarios, but it's a possibility. All right, now here are some counters. Let's say you don't want to get Nico, but you just want to deny this card if you think it's going to take off. Well, the number one is Cosmo. It's an on-reveal card. If you deny the on-reveal, she's not going to get a spell, and then your opponent just played a 1/2, and that sucks for them. So Cosmo, fantastic counter. But some other ones that are interesting are Sandman and Wave. These two cards are interesting because I think the idea with Nico is you want to play multiple cards at least somewhat quickly. If you generate a demon from a card and then I wave and you have to play a 4/6 demon, that's not the greatest line of play. That's probably not what you wanted to do. If you draw 2 cards because you destroyed something and I play wave or I play Sandman, now you can only play 1 card at a time. Did you really need those draws? So it's those kinds of things of just slowing that opponent down and playing at your level while you're playing high value cards afterwards. Seems pretty good. Alioth is not too bad because if the card is never played, the spell won't trigger. And if they never see the card, right? If it's never flipped up, then no spell for you. So I guess if it's a turn 6 play, you play Alioth, you read where your opponent's going to play the card that is going to trigger the spell. You could not only deny the card, but also the spell, and probably win the game because Alioth is so good. Professor X is a bit of a stretch, but I just thought there's so much destroy synergies that maybe locking down a lane so they can't move, they can't change the location, they can't do anything at that location. Well, then maybe you're going to probably swing the game and win it. So I kind of like Professor X. And then lastly, Man Thing, because it's a 1 cost. If your opponent doesn't find a way to destroy NICO MINORU to get her out of the way in a destroy list, then Man Thing is just going to punch that. And I also really expect things like Deadpool destroy decks to run NICO, and they have a lot of 1, 2, and 3 drops, which Man Thing can gobble up. Seems pretty good. All right, so those are my counters. Let's talk about some deck lists. Here are a few deck lists that came up with some key synergies, but one thing I want to let you guys know right away, this was heavily inspired by Brad Safer's article on CCG Hub. So go check it out. I'll have the link in the description below, as well as my Snap or Pass article in the description below, with a few extra deck lists for you guys to check out and get your theory and crafting hats on. Brad did just such a great job at opening my eyes about the value behind NICO and getting me really excited about her. The 2 decks, the Necromancer, the Pyromancer, he called them something else, but I had like a theme going. I had to run with it, Brad. But those are essentially his decks, and you can find more of a breakdown in the article. But really quickly, it's a destroy list on the far left, right, with Deadpool. Essentially what we're looking to do is destroy Deadpool a bunch, maybe even get a copy out of the NICO. That'd be really nice. Buff him up a whole bunch with the Hulkbuster. Get a little ramp with X23 so that we can Taskmaster the Deadpool if we need to, or play Death, Deadpool, anything like that. Very tried and true deck that I think NICO slots in pretty seamlessly. So that seems really good. Pyromancer. That is your typical Phoenix Force deck, right? We're using Shuri to maybe buff up Vision if we need to, but also Nimrod so we can destroy a bunch of things. And then we're looking to bring back with Phoenix Force, if we can bring back that multiple man, that Human Torch, very good. NICO, once again, acting as a destroy mechanic to another activator, and also just giving buffs to these cards that we want to have a lot of power. And if we have to use the move on multiple man, then we'll use the move on multiple man and Torch. Seems pretty good. Worst case scenario, maybe we got to change a location, and that's just fine. So I really like the concept behind these 2 decks. I think it's going to do very well with NICO. The last one is my craziness, okay? The concept behind this one is magic. Okay, Magic and NICO, 2 spellcasters. I think they're going to work really well together because you know that you're going to see every single spell that NICO has to offer. The basic idea here is that I only want to use the drawing cards ability, and I'm going to use it on Wasp or Electro so that I get my ramp, I get all of the cards to create the combo in my hand, and I'm playing Iron Man, Onslaught, Living Tribunal at the same location to win the game. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. The high roll, the Living Tribunal, the Living Dream, Astromancer. Let's go. Basically, I just wanted to shout out the idea that you could put together some like Exodia combo, some game-winning combo, and maybe have a really good chance of drawing through your entire deck because of NICO's spell to destroy something, draw 2 cards, and Magic's ability to let us see a 7th turn, enable another extra draw, which, if you do the math, is your entire deck, as long as you're playing enough cards. And then hopefully have enough energy to play out that combo and steal the game. So you could really do any kind of crazy combo. I was thinking even She-Hulk Infinite stuff where you pass on that turn 6 to play a bunch of power on turn 7. That could be something too. Who knows? But the NICO with the Electro and then the Magic, and then even tucking things behind with Invisible Woman if we need to, Howard and Iron Lad combos to just see what's up, and then maybe get 2 spells using Iron Lad and then NICO later on. Seems pretty good. Seems pretty fun anyways. I'd have a lot of fun with this deck list. Some other synergies are Thanos, because of all the Infinity Stones, is pretty great, and you don't really care about them. Usually you just get them destroyed and you're good to go. Phoenix Force, Magic, Wasp. I really like Wasp, just as a like easy way to activate the spell, throw out that card, and no matter what it is, at least we're probably getting the value that we wanted from the spell. And of course, Deadpool. So there you go. Those are the key synergies. But is NICO a snap or pass? All right. So you probably thought, based on the way I've been talking about this card, that I was going to say that she's a snap. But here's the thing, guys. When I do these videos, these snap or pass videos, it's really with the economy of the game in mind. This game is expensive. And if I'm just, the average Marvel Snap player who doesn't have a lot of tokens, maybe on the higher end of Series 3 or anything like that, I'm just trying to look to pick up a new card, I don't think Nico is that card. She might be cutting a lot of lists. She does have an RNG element. She will be really fun. If it was Series 4, I'd buy it instantly. I'd be very excited for this card. But as she stands, she's Series 5, 6,000 tokens. And I think you could just replace her in a lot of those lists that I was talking about with another card, and you're going to do just as well. So that's why she is a pass at the end of the day for me. But it's a very exciting card, a very unique card, very fun, high skill ceiling card that I'm going to be excited to eventually get. Now, another thing that's worth noting is that in December, I think it's the last week of December, she's going to be back in Spotlight caches. So if you're not picking her up this week, then you can wait until the end of December and maybe pick her up then. So there we go. That's Nico Minoru. Let me know if you're getting her in the comments below, if you're excited about her, if any crazy combos that I missed. I'd be excited to read about it. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will catch you guys next time.